Fake Wedding by Tyler Walker.
Big-time journalist Tiara is married.
To her job.
Or so the local gossip magazines claim.
Determined to set the record straight, Tiara decides she is going to find a good man and stage the perfect wedding to get the press off her back.
Her investigative nature brings her to George DeLuca, who is set to inherit his father's business.
She's a big-time journalist. She can spin this fake marriage however she wants. Right?
But what happens when things start to feel not so fake?
Want to get your hands on all the spicy details YouTube is too shy to show?
Head on over to tylerwalker.com and use code SAVE40 to score a sweet discount on those unedited, unabridged versions.
Drop a comment below and to show Ms. Tyler some love, and let us know you're getting your fix so we can continue to bring you these full free audiobooks.
See that like and subscribe button? Be a good girl and click those too.
You're listening to Tyler Walker's Fake Wedding. Chapter 1. Tiara. My mind is blank. Normally, 2 or 3 article ideas are simmering in the back of my mind. And when I sit down to write, all I have to do is pick one. Presto. I sketch out an outline, do some research or an interview, write a few drafts, and send it to proofreading. Done. But today, none of my ideas seem right for the upcoming wedding issue of A La Mode, where I am editor-in-chief, and nothing in my idea files is inspiring. And I've been scanning websites all morning with no luck, no inspiration. I toss my pen on my desk and close my laptop. Brian. How could he do this to me? I grab the copy of You Heard It Here from a desk drawer. It's one of those trashy gossip rags that thrives on sensationalism and outright lies. And they often feature get-even stories based on hearsay or a phone call. I was flipping through it at my hairstylist's salon, and I almost went into shock when a photo of me and Brian arguing at a local restaurant popped up. Brian's face was deadpan, mine was livid. The headline, Editor's Workaholism Destroys Relationship with High Society Bachelor. Brian was obviously the informant. There's no way anyone else could know some of the details. The anger flares once again as I glance at the photos and reread a few awful sections I highlighted. I've considered a defamation lawsuit, but I'll never win. He's too well known and knows too many lawyers. And I'd probably lose my job over it besides. Why can't I just meet someone and live happily ever after? What am I doing wrong? According to the article, I'm a workaholic. Sure, I'm ambitious and I work long hours. I'm good at what I do and everyone knows it. But I take time off for fun, friends, laughter, and life, and the man in my life. I learned the hard way early on, just out of college. I practically burnt myself out on my first job, and I wasn't much better at my second. But I made changes. I couldn't keep up the pace. He couldn't handle being with a successful, influential woman as smart as he is. That was the problem. I throw it in the trash and call an intern to take it out, so I'm not tempted to look again. I have to start this article. I go back to browsing for ideas. It has to be something wedding-related. Granted, the topic is depressing, given my history of failed relationships, but I don't have a choice. The upcoming issue is all about weddings and marriage, end of story, and I have to make the best of it. I flip between the search results page and the articles I find. Everyone writes the same old thing about weddings. How to reduce stress, reduce expenses, reduce your guest list, reduce conflict, reduce your weight. Newlywed articles are about the same, but they're more about resolving rather than reducing. Resolve differences, resolve arguments. Well, one is about reducing household chores. I scroll down. Plenty on intercourse, of course, as well in-laws and kids from prior relationships. And I'm finding a lot of the deeper stuff, like cheating, when to seek a relationship counselor, and when to end it. But weddings are supposed to be happy, hopeful events. I don't want to remind anyone of the potential problems. I've seen too much of that already. I want something light, yet thoughtful. Theoretical or fact-based, but not academic. Probing, provocative, fresh, fun. I stroll over to the window and stare down at the street. It's almost noon, and the sidewalks are getting crowded with the usual mix of business people and local residents out for lunch. A popular restaurant's outdoor seating is nearly full. Everyone's out to enjoy the sunshine and the warm spring weather. A young man and a woman holding hands read the daily menu on the A-frame sidewalk sign. They stand close, almost leaning on each other, and they look like a match made in heaven. The same happy smiles, the same worry-free faces, and the same carefree stances. They're utterly comfortable with one another. They gaze in each other's eyes and kiss like nothing else matters but that moment before heading, hand in hand, toward a table. I'm too far away to be sure, but a sparkle on her left hand suggests an engagement ring. Possibly a wedding band as well. A twinge of jealousy throbs through me, but I watch for a few more minutes. Is any relationship ever perfect? Of course, there's nothing that's ever completely perfect, but there must be some couples who are so well matched, they hardly ever have an argument. Or when they do, they don't know how to work it out and compromise somehow. Maybe tempers flare a little sometimes, but they never let it get out of hand. Instead, they keep each other's happiness in mind and resolve their differences peacefully. I roll my eyes and think of Brian. Right. We couldn't even talk about differences without him getting pissed off and insulting, or giving me the silent treatment. And every other boyfriend I've ever had wasn't much different. They just don't know how to talk about anything, and something always comes up after a while, either on my side or theirs. They sulk, I try to talk about it, and it's over. But what about all those couples who have been happily married for 30, 40, or 50 years or more? They've got to be doing something right. And suddenly, George DeLuca comes to mind. He's a highly eligible bachelor from one of the wealthiest families in the country. And not only is he highly eligible, he's touted as the perfect husband for one lucky woman. I do a quick search for more information. My lunch hour flies by as I read everything about him that I can find. Who will be his perfect wife? I can't find anything that even hints at it. Suddenly I'm excited. This is my article. This is exactly what I've been looking for. The perfect marriage. All I need to do is get him to agree to an interview. I pick up my phone.
Chapter 2. George. Mama, please. The right woman will come along when I'm ready, and she's ready. I laugh. I've never actually known a woman who was ready for me, but that's nothing I'd talk about with my mom. How did you meet Dad, anyway? It's not so easy to meet the woman of my dreams. Seems I have to do some shopping, you know? Shopping is my least favorite thing to do, but it's what she lives for, so I know she'll understand. George, listen to me. She pours tea from the teapot that's been in our family for 5 generations and hands me my cup. You're not getting any younger, and you need to maintain your image after all. Older bachelors are not looked upon favorably. She's having one of her rare moments when she offers advice, even though she's ignoring my question, so I listen closely. These days, women assume if a man isn't married by 30 or 35, they must be a confirmed bachelor and potentially difficult. Single women, conversely, may be holding off on marriage to advance their careers, and few men assume something is wrong with them. I'm sure you can understand the responsibilities of childbearing and running a household and why a woman might wait. This is different. I've never known my mother to state an opinion one way or another about women and men in a marriage. Yes, Mama, I do understand that. But how did you and Dad meet? That's what I'm wondering. Where do I meet Miss Perfect? My mom looks off in the distance. I met your dad in a bar, if you must know the truth. I suppose it was more properly a cocktail lounge. He was a customer, I was a waitress, and he was very nice and asked me for a date. I blinked a few times and stared. I knew that my mother, as an aspiring actress and disowned by her parents, had to work for a time to support herself. but I'd never heard the story. I didn't know that, and did you get along well with Dad from the start? Oh, yes. She smiled, and a faint blush passed over her cheeks. We've hardly had an argument in all the years we've been married, and you know we're coming up on our 40th anniversary. Wow. It was all I could say. Don't worry, George. She reached over to pat me on the back. You'll find her, but you do have to keep your eyes open. Everyone knows you'll make the perfect husband. You'll be well able to support your wife, buy her the beautiful things she wants, bring up the children properly, and be kind and gentle with her. You have our example to follow. But you must be willing to take that step. I smile at her just to keep her happy. I can't see it happening, but whatever she says goes. Besides, when you're settled down, you'll be taking over the family's business. To do that successfully, you must keep your image in mind. This time it's me who pats her on the back. Thanks, Mama. You know I always appreciate your advice, and I'll keep this in mind. I smile broadly and lean in to kiss her soft cheek. She laughs and pushes me away. She doesn't like to be touched, and she knows I do it when I'm humoring her. Thanks, really, and thanks for sharing how you and Dad met. She waves her palm to dismiss me, and I head for the door. I'm scheduled for a photo shoot with one of the local society magazines at 2 o'clock, and I beat my driver. One of the fun aspects of being part of my family is being a celebrity without doing anything to deserve it. People are just so impressed by money they think I'm someone special. But I'm not really. I'm just an heir to the family fortune. Smart, educated at Yale and Cambridge, of course, and well-versed in business with all the powerful connections anyone could wish for. But though that's nothing special, I was labeled even as a kid as an upcoming perfect husband. And since I've been of age, tongues have wagged. Apparently, though, I need a wife to seal the deal. To keep up appearances. And, most importantly, to live up to my image as the perfect husband. I almost laugh. With my long history of one-night stands with gorgeous women and relationships that ended badly, I can't agree. I know I'm not perfect, but I'm not a bad guy. I treat women right. I'm respectful, and I like to think I'm an interesting guy. But all they see is the money. And ultimately, they're not interested in me. They're only interested in themselves and impressing me enough to marry them. And I pull back. I should talk with my father to see what things were like for him. What attracted him to my mother? The photo shoot is deemed a success. I'm photogenic, as I've been told, and it only takes an hour. Just before I arrive at my townhouse, a call comes in from a la mode. I sigh. Probably another interview request with the usual photo shoot. I hesitate. Do I really want to do another one? It's good for business and it pays well, but still, I have work to do. I finally pick up. Hi, this is Tiara, editor-in-chief from A La Mode. May I speak with George DeLuca, please? Speaking. I hold back a yawn. Oh, hi George. Listen, I'm wondering if you have time for an interview for our upcoming wedding issue. I hear you've been dubbed as the perfect husband, and I'd like to do a piece on that. Thanks, Tiara, but I'm pretty busy. And as you probably know, I've done a dozen, at least, of these interviews, and it gets tiresome. I get ready to end the call. I can imagine, she says. I get a lot of pressure about marriage myself, so I know what it's like. My interest is piqued. Really? Sure, you wouldn't believe the pressure. She pauses. Then again, maybe you would. And I know you get requests like this all the time. I'm aware of all the articles written about it, but I'm taking a different angle. Oh, really? How so? She takes a deep breath. I can tell she's just a little nervous, but there's something about her I like. Let me tell you in person. Dinner is on me at La Familia. Do you know the place? I do. What about 7:30 tomorrow? I hesitate. For some reason, I want to let her wait. I finally answer. Sure, I'll see you then.
Chapter 3. Tiara. 7:30 hits, and my nerves go haywire. I'm sitting snugly against the red velvet upholstered booth at La Familia, and my leg bounces anxiously in time with the Italian-themed music. The delicate pangs of the piano mimic the melody of the accordion. And if I wasn't going out of my mind waiting for George to appear, I would have enjoyed the live performance. Maybe this was a terrible idea. Why would someone as busy and as important as George show up to an interview with me? I sigh, checking the time once more. At 7:40, after I've single-handedly eaten 2 baskets of bread, I clutch my purse and begin to exit the booth. I should have known he would be too busy to entertain my proposition. Shaking my head as the clock strikes 8 o'clock, I rack my brain for an alternative article idea. An idea that won't leave me waiting in a booth for half an hour. Just as I'm about to leave, a tall, striking man hurries into the dining room. He's accompanied by the young hostess, whose starry eyes and love-struck blush echo my innermost thoughts. This man is gorgeous. I believe the rest of your party is right over there. She points to me, her blonde eyebrows narrowing with jealousy. Could this beautiful man be George after all? He looks even better than his pictures. Let me know if you need anything else, Mr. DeLuca. Anything at all. The hostess answers my question and slinks back to her post after throwing a wink in his direction. Anger begins to boil deep within me as she turns her nose up at me, but I quickly shake it off as George heads my way. I am so sorry. Tiara, was it? I got held up on a business call. It's so nice to meet you. He takes my hand in his large palms, bringing my wrist to his lips to place a light kiss against my skin. I flush, and he gestures to the booth. Please sit. I apologize if that was too forward of me. My father always said that was the proper way for a gentleman to greet a beautiful woman. Am I dreaming? Not at all. It's nice to finally meet you in person, George. I clear my throat as he slides into the seat across from me. His deep brown irises glisten with anticipation, and it takes me a moment to remember that I'm here on business. Thank you for joining me for an interview. A La Mode magazine will certainly benefit from an interview with the man everyone calls the perfect husband. Let's start off with that. How did you earn that title? After the waiter brings us 2 waters, I take out my notebook, forcing myself to focus on the blank page instead of on his flawless face. He coughs, scratching his stubble with perfectly manicured fingers. Yes, the tabloids have been labeling me as such before I even started considering marriage. I suppose the title came about because I'm a member of a high-profile family. When you're among the high society elite, all eyes are on you. It gets pretty draining. Either you're seen as a perfect gentleman or a troubled black sheep. George rubs his temples, the exhaustion evident on his face. Tabloids and press are always concerned with what headlines you can create, not what kind of person you are inside. We are silent as he stares into his glass, and I am stunned that George opened up to me so quickly. Here I was, thinking that this would be a cut and dry puff piece with little to no substance. But even before the appetizers, he's promised me a deep article that really captures his essence as a person and not a celebrity. I am technically part of the press, I joke, and he blinks rapidly as he realizes his mistake. Please don't print that. I didn't mean to offend you. It's just been a long day. George smiles at me softly, placing his napkin on his lap and arranging the silverware on the table. For that question, let's say something like, George DeLuca earned the title of the perfect husband at a young age due to his position as heir of the family business and his reputation with countless lovers at both Cambridge and Yale for being a gentleman. Did I divulge too much? Wow, I laugh, scribbling swiftly to record his words. Maybe I should just let you write the article. We share a chuckle, and I assure him that his honesty is welcome. Trust me, the more you divulge, the better the article will be. I'm interested in the real George DeLuca, not the one the tabloids write about. Trust me, I may be a journalist, but I've had my fair share of bad press written about me. My thoughts slip back to Brian and that awful article. Hopefully my intern took out the trash, and the magazine is sitting at the bottom of a landfill. George seems comforted by my words. His broad shoulders relax, and he settles deeper into the seat. You don't know how happy I am to hear that. Finally, someone who shares my sentiments about the media. I appreciate you sharing that with me. At the same time, though, I can't ruin my image quite yet. Maybe it's best to just stick with my stock answers for now. Your secret is safe with me. Though my brain begs me to change the article from the perfect marriage to brooding bachelor slams the media, something about his honestly encourages me to guard his truth. How about an easier one? How would you describe the perfect date? The waiter arrives with our salads as George ponders his answer. Something simple yet romantic. A private picnic on the lake, a nice dinner, and perhaps a bottle of wine. Beautiful, I agree, jotting his answer down. Brian never even entertained an idea like that, and I find myself wishing I could be George's Miss Perfect and go on dates like the one he mentioned. The idea sticks with me as we breeze through the remainder of my interview questions. His type is a woman who is well-centered, humble, and smart. His favorite dish is his mother's lasagna. His favorite pastime is reading poetry. He answers each question quickly but authentically as we receive our entrees, and I find that his choices strongly align with mine. It's all very easy and straightforward until I reach the last question. So, I begin, picking at the remainder of my spaghetti. I want to ask you something that's not on the list, and I won't print the answer if you're not comfortable. I'm just extremely curious. His dark brows knit, and he thinks it over before giving my permission. I usually wouldn't say yes, but for some reason, I feel safe with you. Go ahead, let's hear this question. Ivory teeth form a smile and my heart skips a beat. If you're really the perfect husband, I start apprehensively, hoping I'm not about to ruin all the trust we've built in this short time. How come you haven't found a wife? Bracing myself against the booth, I wait for him to get angry with me and storm out. He doesn't, instead shocking me by cracking up. Ha! That's the $1,000,000 question. He takes a final bite of his steak, then faces me with a sigh. I know bachelors say this quite a bit, but I just haven't found the right woman. All my life, I've had my pick of ladies, girls throwing themselves at me in school because of my last name, and women wanting me just for my money throughout adulthood. I just want a partner, someone I can share a laugh with, someone I can come home to and truly feel at home with, someone who understands the real me, beneath the family business and Ivy education, someone, I suppose, like you, who makes me feel like it's okay to let my guard down. This pressure from the public and from my parents to find a wife, it's just too much. We spoke a little about it on the phone, so I know you share in my sentiments. Sometimes I just want to say the hell with it and settle down with a nice girl to get everyone off my back. George's eyes meet mine, and I realize my pen has fallen from my fingers as it clatters to the table. I know exactly what you mean, I breathe, a dangerously devious idea coming to mind. Anyways, I hope that answers your question. Thank you, by the way. Really, Tiara. This has been one of the best interviews I've done. You've shown me that sometimes journalists really do care about the person behind the story. Plus, he adds, swiping a hand across his head to smooth his dark locks, you've been great company. I wouldn't mind seeing you again sometime. I have to dig my fingernails into the table while I catch the breath George has stolen from me. George, I mutter, unable to contain myself anymore. I'm going to pitch you an idea. A crazy, ridiculous idea. My pulse throbs in my ears as my breath hitches. We both dislike the tabloids, and we're both ultimately unhappy with the labels they've given us. You, the perfect husband without any depth, and me, A workaholic. What do you say we have a little fun with the media? He perks up at my suggestion, and I reveal my plan, throwing caution to the wind. What if, stay with me now, what if, in order to satisfy our parents, and in order to prove to the media that you're an intricate guy and I'm a perfect wife, we married each other? I thought I was getting a fake marriage, but I didn't know my story was being told by Miss Tyler.
This isn't just any fake marriage, now is it?
No, you introduced me to the devil.
Come on, girl, Jacob isn't that bad.
Oh, I love Jacob. His family, on the other hand?
Beggars can't be choosers, Nyla. You should be grateful I even let Jacob Stone look your way.
I just wanted to save my granddaddy. Is that so bad? Why couldn't you let this be a normal fake marriage? Instead, you put me in a twisty story filled with money, betrayal, power, and lies.
Let's not forget love.
That's what keeps me going. But not gonna lie, Miss Tyler. This story you got me in ain't the simple fake marriage, happy ending I thought it would be.
It's not. Because where would be the fun in that?
Treat yourself to Say Less I Love You. Tuesdays and Thursdays. New seasons premiere every month. Or skip the wait and grab the full series bundle from TylerWalker.com. Treat yourself with Miss Tyler.
Chapter 4. George, excuse me, what? Water dribbles down my chin as I spit my drink out all over the table. Did I hear this woman correctly? I'm sorry. I might have had something in my ears, but I thought I just heard you say we should get married for a headline. Just a few minutes ago, I had been reveling in the fact that I finally found someone who hated the tabloids as much as I did. But now, after that same person proposed an entire marriage plan for clickbait, I feel my dinner turning within my stomach. I answered all the interview questions, thanks for dinner, but I'm going to leave now. Just as I rise from the booth, my head spinning, Tiara grabs my arm. No, wait. It's not for the headline. Please, sit down, just let me explain. She pleads with me, the desperation in her eyes willing me to obey. Okay. I check my watch, settling back into my seat. I do want to hear what she has to say. She did prove to be excellent company during the past few hours, so I feel I should give her a chance. You have 10 minutes? The journalist tucks her notebook away and looks me in the eyes. I know it's insane, but just hear me out. Didn't you just spend the whole night telling me how much you want the world to see you for who you really are? Tell me, who would be the best person to bring your personality to light? A journalist who's on your side, right? One who not only gets to learn the real you by spending time with you every day, but also actually cares about something other than your money. Her declaration hits me hard, and I lean in, interested. I know we've only just met, but your story about growing up in the limelight really resonated with me. I'll do anything to make sure your authentic story is shared. That's why I got into journalism, not to sell fake stories for money, but to reveal my subject's truth. She catches her breath, her full lips parting as she waits for me to say something. I begin to craft my refusal in my mind. There is absolutely no way I'd marry a complete stranger, even if it would help me achieve my dream of finally being recognized in the press for my personality instead of my money. That last thought resonates with me, and I nearly kick myself as I entertain her idea for a moment. It would be refreshing to see a story about me that wasn't focused on my family business. I could also benefit from having a journalist as a close friend and ally. After years of being a slave to the tabloids and trying to create a perfect image for them, it would be a relief to simply dictate a story to the press on my own terms. Most importantly, settling down with a woman would make my dear mother proud. She would finally stop worrying herself silly about my love life. When the wacky proposal begins to start actually making sense, I shake my head. I will admit, you have my attention, but it would never work. Frustrated, Tiara grasps my hand from across the table. I don't want to resort to groveling, but I really need your help. This morning I was front page news for being the workaholic she-devil who ruined my relationship. That's not who I am. That's not who I want the world to see when they see Tiara Therian. You of all people should understand my desire to change my own story, and I really believe you're the only one who can help me. Her painted thumb runs delicately over the flesh of my forefinger. Please, George, help me create my own image as the perfect wife, and I'll help reinvent yours. Her large eyes gaze into mine as her soft skin moves against my hand. She's beautiful, and it's hard to say no, even to an impromptu fake marriage. I can't deny that the woman is wise and quick-witted. It's my main point of attraction to her aside from her beauty. She brought up some convincing points, and I wonder if I should accept. After all, what's the worst that could happen? A few arguments with my fake wife over taking out the trash. All the negatives that come to mind seem like a small price to pay in exchange for my mother's peace of mind. Against my better judgment, I squeezed Tiara's small hand lightly. Okay, let's do it. I know I'm not your dream girl, but if you just think about the benefits of the arrangement... Wait, what? Did you just say yes? Her mouth hangs open and my lips curl into a grin. I did. I'm accepting your proposal. Warmth spreads within me as her face lights up. Yeah, it's the craziest thing I've ever done. But I could really use my own personal journalist. And how do you know you aren't my dream girl? I know we just met, but I would be honored to have such a dazzling and brilliant wife. The writer's hands fly to her reddening cheeks. Oh, George, you will not regret this, I swear. I'll really be the perfect wife. I'll make dinner, and I'll clean, I'll even vacuum. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. She leans over the table to wrap me in a haphazard hug. Excuse me, sir, may we have some champagne? Tiara waves the waiter over, but when he asks what we're celebrating, she keeps tight-lipped, waiting until he leaves to speak again. We'll announce it publicly, with fanfare and pictures and some lovey-dovey quotes. Neither of us have been married, but those seem like slightly antiquated standards of wifehood. I chuckle. Maybe just being an equal partner who is open to new things and supportive of me would suffice. And if we're really going to do this, we should set some ground rules. She nods, pulling out her notebook once again. I absolutely agree. Her pen hovers above the page, waiting for me to begin. After giving it some thought, I list my requirements. Well, first of all, the faux marriage can't last forever. Absolutely not. I say, 1 year tops, do you agree? Sounds good to me. Oh, and another thing, we have to make our relationship as public as possible. I can write a few anonymous articles on my own and send in quotes and updates to other publications. Of course, there will be the main article, The Perfect Marriage, which will describe me as a picturesque wife and you as a man worth getting to know. I'm impressed with her level of planning, and the thought crosses my mind that I'm not the first person she's proposed this plan to. Then again, judging by her own hesitation in the beginning, I know I have to be. When we divorce, which we will, should that be public too? Wouldn't that undermine both of our flawless images? Her nose scrunches at the thought. No, we keep that part private. We can't divorce until the initial story is published. The year-long time frame is perfect. Another thing, as long as we're married, you have to agree not to eat any onions. Of all the outlandish things I've heard tonight, this is the most wild. And why would that be? I just don't like onions. I'm not going to be married to someone with foul breath, she states factually. I shake my head with a smirk. All right, no onions. What else should we add? Are you opposed to garlic as well? No, garlic is fine, but you'll have to let me plan the wedding. I've been imagining it since I was a little girl. I already have the color scheme picked out. Her pen moves swiftly as she scribbles the points down like a man-woman. It's strangely attractive. Oh, we'll have to organize some public date nights, grocery runs, and the like, just so we can be seen out in public together having a wonderful time. As for the divorce, we'll handle it quietly as discussed, but I can write some anonymous residual articles so the press doesn't catch on that we've separated. Yes, that sounds like a plan. Anything else, my dear fiancé? She blushes at the words, but doesn't come up with any other terms. All right then. The waiter arrives just in time and we raise our glasses. To my future wife. And to my future husband. She takes her cell phone from her purse, snapping a quick picture of the two of us to submit to the tabloids later. May your breath always be onion-free. We laugh together once again, and as I wonder if my life has just taken a turn for the worst. However, I trust Tiara, and with her by my side, whether this plan is a failure or not, I'm willing to take the risk to find out.
Chapter 5. Tiara. After my dinner with George, I immediately get to work. I had already planned some of the story out in the hopes that he would say yes, but now that everything is confirmed, I get to write. That's my bread and butter. I love to write. And a story as juicy and romantic as this one is just what I need to stretch my writing muscles. I smile to myself as I type up my story. It's perfect and it fits the vision of the magazine so well. I know it will be cleared off of the stands in no time, and our online readership will skyrocket. George and I will be the perfect couple, and our reputations will be restored. We're the perfect pair, and everyone loves a good love story. I never feel better than when I have a story, and I'm making good progress on it. I type away as the story comes to life. I dutifully work at it, and I get about a quarter of the story done. It's not finished, but we need to actually get married before that happens. It's not bad progress either. It's a solid start, which is what I always like for my stories. The story practically writes itself. I can use all of my mental energy to really polish it and make the reader salivate over every word. I think about how well this all is working out. For a moment, I'm worried that it's too good to be true. I worry that this will all come crashing down around me. But I've paid my dues. I've been called a workaholic all too long. I can have it all. It's time that something good happens to me. I chuckle as I realize that my workaholic ways are what's landing me the perfect marriage. Take that, gossip magazines. I know a lot of people don't take as much pride in their works as I do, but the magazine has a long-standing reputation of producing good work, and this will be part of that. With everything working out like it is now, there should be no problem. My editors will be impressed, and I'll get a little social boost as well. It's perfect. And George is on board. Double perfect. I take a break from working to flip through my social media feeds. Even I need to stop and numb my brain with this stuff every once in a while. As expected, the photos of us at dinner are making the rounds. It seems like everyone has reposted it. People speculate and gossip and say mean things in the comments, but other people in the comments are supportive. It's tough putting yourself out there on the internet, but I'm sure the tides of trolls will be turned away soon enough. You have to love a romance like the one we're putting off. Over the next few days, I keep working on my story, and I eventually find myself at a product launch. The press is here, and I know they're going to ask questions about my personal life. I'm ready to rebrand. So, Tiara, a tabloid writer asks. She's holding a small recording device in her perfectly manicured hand. I hear you've been working super hard lately. That must be tough. Her tone is sympathetic, but I know the hidden meaning of her words. She's trying to get me to confirm that I'm a workaholic. Wouldn't that be just great? But I'm ready for her questions. I'm very proud of all I've accomplished in my career. I start. Good. I sound ambitious, but not power hungry. But I'm sure you can see from social media that it's not the only thing I've been up to. Yes, but tell me, have you been working long nights to pull off all of those projects? She's not taking the bait. I'll just have to make sure her clips end up being what I want them to be about. Oh, I don't need to work long nights. I can manage my projects during work hours. And besides, with someone as handsome as George waiting for me when I get home, who would want to work overtime? He's the perfect stress relief. I finish with a smile. I've officially turned the questions around. So your personal life is going well then? Oh yes, I continue. I feel like the luckiest woman in the world. George and I are the perfect match. We complete each other, we communicate well, and we have the best time together. I know a lot of people assume I work too much, but George understands that I'm ambitious, and I'm proud of my career, and he supports me in that. But we both devote plenty of time to our relationship. I can't wait to spend the rest of my life with him. Well, he's not here tonight. I know this trick. She's hoping to imply that he's screwing around on the side. Well, I'm smarter than that. She won't be so lucky. I'm in charge of this story. I'm writing my own narrative. Oh, he is actually. He texted me a minute ago that he just got here. And perfectly cued, George steps into the room, looking as handsome and dashing as ever. I give him a little wave. He strides over to me and kisses me on the cheek. You look beautiful, babe. He tells me. I smile and bashfully look down. I've been practicing that look in the mirror. Oh, George, you're too good to me. You don't look too shabby yourself. He puts his arm around me and I lean in. The reporter continues to ask us questions, now as a joint interview. George answers every question just the way I want him to. A photographer appears in front of us. Always ready for the cameras, we pose together and smile. Even though I can't see the picture, I know we're absolute perfection. We're the ideal couple. It's a persona that we're carefully crafting, and one that I know is fooling everyone.
Chapter 6. George. The camera flash around me. I'm used to this sort of thing, being who I am in my line of work. I tell all the reporters stories about our epic romance. I embellish some details, drawing inspiration from songs, movies, books, and television shows. I change enough details so no one could make the connection. Tiara is the perfect improvisation partner. She's gassing up the reporters as much as me. I know that she's taking as many mental notes about our love story as I am. I'll have to make sure I buy these gossip magazines so I can keep our story straight. But for now, I know the basics. When the reporters start to lose interest and wander off to eavesdrop on other parts of the party, I sneak away. I step outside and take a deep breath of the night air. Here goes nothing. I pull up my dad's phone number and give him a call. The phone rings a few times before he answers. I feel bad for calling them so late, but it's better that they find out from me rather than some tabloid. George? He answers sleepily into the phone. I should have known they would be in bed by now. Hey, Dad, I say. What are you calling so late for? He asks. Is something wrong? No, nothing is wrong, I assure him. It's the opposite, in fact. Happy news, I'm engaged. There's silence for a moment on the other line. I hear him talking to my mom, who I must have woken up as well. There's muffled speaking before I hear my mother again. Engaged! I hear her exclaim. There's movement over the phone as I assume she rips the phone out of my father's hands. George, what do you mean you're engaged? She asks. She excited and I'm sure fairly anxious as well. Luckily, I'm not the type to go off and get married in Vegas, but I'm sure she doesn't know what to think as well. I could tell from the last few family gatherings that she was starting to give up hope that I'd ever found someone. Yeah, she's a great girl. Her name is Tiara. We've been seeing each other for a while. She's a writer. I fill my mom in on the details so she can look up Tiara and learn everything she possibly can about her. I know searches for Tiara will spike tonight, and it will be in no small part due to my mother. I add in a few funny anecdotes about her to really seal the deal. But anyway, I wanted you to find out from me and not a magazine, I tell her. Thank you, honey, she yawns. It really is past their bedtime. Go back to sleep, Mom, I tell her. I'll tell you more in the morning, and we'll meet soon and discuss it in person. Maybe we'll have lunch tomorrow." "Oh, you're too good to us," she says with a laugh. "I would love to have lunch and meet Tiara." "Good night, Mom. I love you. Tell Dad I said good night to him too," I say. "I will, good night, George. All of our love to Tiara." I hang up and rejoin the party. Tiara is sitting at the bar. I slide into the seat next to her. She smiles and passes me a drink. "Great work out there," she says. "Yeah, you too." I clink my glass to hers. She takes a sip. I do as well. We have a few drinks together and get to one another. The real one another. The things we won't have to make up for reporters. I have to admit she's fascinating. She's smart, ambitious, and beautiful. She really is the perfect wife. In a different world, maybe we could have gotten together for real. As we talk and drink, I can't help but notice how gorgeous she really is. She has curves in all the right places, and a stellar personality. I feel myself growing attracted to her. Without meaning to, I start to flirt with her. To my surprise, she flirts back. We exchange a few witticisms back and forth before I lean over and whisper in her ear. "Do you want to get out of here?" I ask. She nods. I can feel the warmth of her skin from here, and I can smell the sweet scent of her perfume. I want to kiss up and down her neck and bend her over the bar right here and now, but with everything going on, I hold myself back. I take her hand and lead her out of the party. On the way back to the car, I can't resist her anymore. I pull her close to me and kiss her. Thank God we're supposed to be engaged, or else this would look very suspicious. She kisses me back just as hard and starts to run her hands up and down my body. I break the embrace, pulling away before we get arrested for public indecency.
Looks like the level of passion in this chapter is pushing YouTube's limit.
It's disappointing, I know. Trust me when I say we want nothing more than to get down to the dirty details.
But releasing these free audiobooks on YouTube means that we have to abide by the rules.
Even though YouTube won't allow us to put something so spicy on the air, you can still find it on TylaWalker.com.
Miss Tyla has an unbelievable collection of uncut, unabridged audiobooks and ebooks.
For access to the full, unfiltered scene, go to TylaWalker.com and use code SAVE40 for 40% off any digital product.
This is the deal of a lifetime, a discount that can be applied to bundles that are already listed at a discounted price.
You heard that right. It's time for you to treat yourself.
With Miss Tyla. Chapter 7. Tiara. I walk into the small downtown bistro. The crowd is sparse for being lunchtime. George sits in the back corner of the dining room. Upon seeing me, he stands and kisses my cheek when I approach. The feel of his soft lips on my skin sends shivers coursing down my spine and images of our time together last night bursting through my mind. A sigh escapes my lips as I lean in just a little too long. The sultry gleam in his eyes tells me he's thinking about the same thing. "I've missed you," he smiles. "Last night was..." "It really was," I agree. I have to admit that I had some doubts about this whole thing, but the benefits are quite nice. A fiery blush scorches across my cheeks. "I want you to know that I never planned for that to happen. I mean, I never meant..." "I know." His smile is so genuine that I can't help but smile back. "I would never assume that you put this whole thing together just to get into my bed. I want you to know I have no regrets. Last night was amazing, albeit a little surprising. He really is perfect, out of the bedroom and in." We meet his parents for dinner later in the evening. "Mr. and Mrs. DeLuca," I say, flashing my most professional smile. "It's a pleasure to meet you both." "Tiara, dear." His mother smiles warmly. "It's so nice to meet you." I was beginning to think that my George was never going to settle down. "Yes," agrees his father. Although I must say, I feel as if we already know you, what with all the articles about you in the papers. I must admit, says his mother, I'm surprised that the two of you are engaged so soon. Didn't you have a boyfriend who just recently broke up with you? Something about you being a workaholic, his father chimes in. Oh dear, I say apologetically. The tabloids did publish that recently, but they don't exactly have the facts straight. We had been broken up for quite some time. George and I were dating, but keeping it quiet, and then, when my ex found out I was engaged, he made up a story to sell to the tabloids in a vain attempt to sully my reputation. But do you really work all the time, dear? Asks his mother. Mother, Tiara is brilliant at her job. She puts her whole heart and soul into her magazine. I admire her work ethic and would never expect her to give up something that she is so passionate about. She should be commended for what she does, not drugged through the dirt for it. I'm shocked and touched by his words, and his parents seem appeased by them. By the time dinner is over, we have both of their blessings and wishes for happiness. Of course, that's when George shocks us all. Thank you, Mother and Father. I guess now would be a good time to mention that I was able to procure the Chinese gardens at the Regency Victoria Hotel for the wedding venue in 1 week. Oh, dear Lord, she's pregnant, his mother exclaims. What? No, I balk. Of course, not Mother, George explains. We just know what we want and don't feel the need to draw it out any longer than necessary. Besides, that was when the hotel was available. There was a cancellation. The next available date would be over a year away. When I get into the office the next morning, I run through my list of contacts. Cheryl, the owner of a posh dress shop downtown, owes me a favor. Several years ago, when she was just starting out, I threw her some advertising space for close to nothing, cost-wise. She was new in town, she didn't have a big name, and her budget was even smaller. I could tell there was something special about not only her, but her style as well. Wanting to see her succeed, I gave her a full-page ad right smack dab in the middle of the best article. It worked like magic. Her store blew up overnight with almost more sales than she could handle, and definitely more than she was prepared for. Over the years, she's regularly reminded me that when I'm ready to take the plunge, she'll gladly hook me up. I wonder how good she is with a tight deadline. Cheryl, sweetheart, how's it going? I ask when I hear her voice through the speaker. Tiara, she exclaims, what are all these rumors I'm hearing about you? Don't tell me you put any stock into all the nonsense the tabloids spit out. I thought you were smarter than that, I tease with a laugh. Oh, I'm not talking about tabloid fodder. Her voice turns conspiratorial. I've heard from a little birdie that there's a wedding in the works. There is indeed, I confirm. I'm so sorry to do this to you, but I need a favor. No apologies necessary, she says excitedly. I've always told you that when you're ready. Even if it's less than a week, I cut her off. Oh my God, you're pregnant, she screeches. What? No, absolutely not. Why do people keep asking that? We just know what we want and don't see any point in drawing it out longer than necessary. I repeat George's reasoning. If you're sure, she doesn't sound convinced. I'm positive. So, about that favor. I give Cheryl all the necessary details, and 10 minutes later my dresses are taken care of. I'll swing by the shop tomorrow to do a fitting, but other than that, I'm all set. I take the same steps to procure flowers and a cake. It's amazing how many people are willing to help on such short notice and with such a short time frame. When all the preparations are made, I post some pictures to social media to let the followers know how my arrangements are going. I have some sketches that Cheryl sent over of the dress, along with different flower arrangements and an example of the cake. The comments are immediately flooded. Avid readers of the magazine are familiar with the names I'm using and commend me on keeping true to the spirit of a la mode. There are even comments from George's peers, messages of congratulations. We look so happy together. George is one lucky SOB. Of course, there are also the comments of, don't marry her, marry me, and what does she have that I don't? I ignore those and focus on how well this plan is falling into place.
Chapter 8. George. Surprise! I walk into the gentleman's parlor at the country club where my parents have been members for as long as I can remember. My membership was merely by default given the family I come from. It's not really a place I like to spend much time at outside of the usual obligations for charity events, anniversary parties, or other mundane nonsense. Apparently, it's going to be the place where my impromptu bachelor party is taking place. When my best friend Kyle called me this morning, asking me to meet him for lunch, something in his voice sounded suspicious. Luring me to a last-minute party in my honor never crossed my mind. Seriously, guys, you really shouldn't have, I say, trying to sound more humble than annoyed. It's not that I don't like spending time with my friends, I do. Given the deceptiveness that is the reason this kind of formality, however, leaves me feeling, well, kind of like an ass. Even though I agreed to this whole wedding farce, I'd rather not lie any more than absolutely necessary. A bachelor party seems unnecessary given the circumstances. Don't worry, Todd smirks, walking over to shake my hand and clap me on the back. You didn't give us enough time to put together a real bachelor party, so you're stuck with just lunch. That's right, says Jeffrey. And Colin is picking up the bill, aren't you, brother? Pretty sure you said you were splitting it, Colin retorts. Why exactly? Is it that we didn't get proper notification? Asks Kyle. We didn't even know you were seeing someone. Where'd you meet this gal, anyway? We've been seeing each other for a while, I say. I just didn't feel comfortable saying anything until I knew for sure if it was serious or not. But weren't you just talking about some chick you banged in Italy last month? Asks Brad. Yeah, something about big tits and perfect ass, adds Colin. I don't remember, I say, playing dumb, something I don't do very well. She's pregnant, isn't she? Asks Todd. Crap! Why do people keep asking that? She isn't pregnant. We're just in love, and I don't want to waste any more time not being with her. She's the one. I try to convince them. I guess that's all that matters then, agrees Jeffrey. The rest of the guys nod their heads in agreement. It still would have been nice to give us a little more time to prepare a real bachelor party. Strippers would have been awesome, says Brad. Jesselyn doesn't let me have any fun anymore. I have to live vicariously through you jackasses. Shut up, dumbass, I say, punching him lightly on the arm. Brad was the first of our group to take the big marriage plunge. I see the way he looks at Jesselyn. There are no regrets there, no matter what he says. Well, I'm happy for you, man. When you know, Colin says. Thank you. I am genuinely thankful for the support of my friends. It's great knowing that they have my back no matter what. I guess that'll come in handy when Tiara and I get divorced. We're not the only ones happy for you. Have you seen the flood of support on social media? Asks Todd. No kidding, agrees Kyle. Tiara posted some pictures of your wedding preparations online, and people are going crazy. Everyone is thrilled to see you finally settling down. You follow Tiara on social media? I wonder. Of course, you never introduced her to us. We had to see what you were getting yourself into, answers Colin. Especially with the wedding tomorrow, adds Kyle. It looks like you got a good one. They all agree. After the party, I head back to my apartment. After talking with the guys at the bachelor party lunch, there's a small part of me that is questioning just how sane this whole thing is. Can we really fool everyone into believing that this whole marriage is legit? I've never lied to my friends before. I've definitely never deceived my parents about something so important. My mom is expecting grandchildren for Christ's sake. Am I really okay denying her that privilege? Walking into my apartment, I toss my keys in the bowl on the table by the door. They clatter across the glass. I sit down at the desk in my study and open my laptop. I'm curious about the photos that Kyle mentioned. I start scrolling through my feed, not really focusing on any of it until a hand-drawn sketch of a wedding dress pops up across the screen. The image is gorgeous. Whoever drew it was able to catch Tiara's likeness perfectly, and my breath catches in my throat at the sheer beauty of her. I click on her name and look through her photos. The most recent are of the dress, flower arrangements, and a several tiered wedding cake that is sure to be entirely too grandiose for something that isn't even real. My heart aches at the thought, as if I've suffered a catastrophic loss. But that doesn't make any sense. I see that Tiara is online, so I send a message to her through her feed. "Hey baby, I can't wait to see you tomorrow." Without missing a beat, she responds, "I'll be the one in white." "You're going to be gorgeous," I type. "You are gorgeous. Just the sight of you makes me want to do all kinds of naughty things." Before her response comes through, I see that we've caught the attention of dozens of followers. Some just type kissy face and heart-eyed emojis. Others type out responses like, "How sweet," and "You two are so cute." A feeling of possessiveness courses through my veins. I know we're supposed to be playing this up for the public, but I don't want to share her with strangers. So the next message I send to her, I send through her direct messages. "Me, I've been thinking about you all day." "Tiara, what about me?" "Me, about how I can't wait to touch you again." "Tiara, then what are you waiting for?" "Me, for you to be my wife." "Tiara, you don't have to wait much longer." "Me, this is going to be the longest 24 hours in the history of the world." "Tiara, why don't you give me a little preview then?" Holy crap. So I spend the next hour telling her exactly what I want to do to her when I have her in my arms again. All the doubts and reservations I was feeling earlier disappear.
Chapter 9. Tiara. We've been showing off our relationship online. We've both been posting pictures and celebrating at every possible opportunity. The press is eating it up. Even up until our wedding day, I'm posting and checking the likes and comments. As I get ready to walk down the aisle, I look around. Everything in the room looks perfect. It really is like a fairy tale. It will look as good on social media as it does in magazines. No photo editing needed. We've even gotten a home together for our ideal marriage. It looks like someone took it straight out of a magazine. Even the least happy couple would look picture perfect in it. And I don't think we're unhappy. We just both know what this is. It's a means to an end. We need to just be married long enough to clear our reputation. After that, we can go back to our normal lives. It's like playing house. But I guess we've made it into a competition. We've invited friends of ours to document our journey. They're the types who are always in the know and always on their phones. We just play the happy couple with the perfect house. And before you know it, the pictures and quotes are everywhere. It's great. They're doing so much of the work for us. A few of them come to visit as I get ready. We take pictures, and they promise not to put them online until after I walk down the aisle. I have half a mind to tell them to post them now anyway, but that wouldn't be playing the part. I smile and thank them. I know that all of the buzz will be about our wedding today, no matter what. The wedding itself is a blur. I walk down the aisle, and I can't help but notice how handsome George looks. I smile at him, and he smiles back. Our real partnership is our little secret. We stand in front of our friends and family, as well as some socialites, and recite our vows to one another. We wrote our own vows, and it was a bit of a creative writing exercise. But as I see our guests weeping, I know we've nailed it. We're asked to declare our love and take each other as husband and wife. We each say our I do's, and he kisses me, sealing our marriage. The reception is just as wonderful as the wedding. We've set it up like a photographer's dream. Every detail is just right. People are having a ball. Everyone is dancing and smiling. I'm sure that every picture is turning out just right. It's adding to our story. I smile as I think about the photos that I can get to add to my article. We drink and laugh, and honestly, I can't remember being so happy. My face hurts from smiling and laughing. The guests start to drop hints that it's time for us to go to the honeymoon suite, and George is all but too happy to oblige. I giggle as he takes my hand and whisks me away. For a moment, I lose myself in the happiness of it all. The cameras and guests fade away in the distance, and it's just the two of us going off on our own together as husband and wife. I never thought it would be under these circumstances, but I can't deny how much fun I'm having. Why not have a little more? We enter the hotel suite. Like everything else today, it's set up perfectly. There's rose petals and champagne, but all I can focus on is how much I want George. I pull him into a kiss and laugh. He laughs too. I can tell he enjoyed today just as much as everyone else. If someone was secretly watching us right now, they'd be convinced by our ruse. I know we look like a couple in love, enjoying our first night of marriage. No one would believe that we're faking it. And that's where we're going to put a pause on pleasure.
Looks like the rest of this chapter is just too naughty to put on the air.
As much as we'd love to share every little detail, we've got to stick to YouTube's guidelines to keep these free audiobooks coming.
They've got some rules about what we can show, and we wouldn't want to risk losing the chance to bring you more content.
As frustrating as it is to build the tension only to be interrupted, Miss Tyler always knows how to make it up to you.
You can find the full, uncut scene over at tylerwalker.com.
With an entire library of unabridged audiobooks and ebooks, Miss Tyler's collection is waiting for you.
If you use code SAVE40, you'll get 40% off any digital product, even on bundles that are already discounted.
So don't let the fun stop here. Head over to tylerwalker.com and treat yourself with Miss Tyler.
Chapter 10. George DeLuca, the country's most eligible bachelor. No more. The headline of the morning paper screams out at me as I stop into the corner cafe for my morning coffee. The entire front page is covered with photos of Tiara and me from the wedding. This can't be the only newsworthy story today. Some of the photos are candid, taken when we weren't paying attention to the camera. Others are more formal, either taken when the photographer had us posing, or submitted by the photographer himself to the journal. I wonder if I should look into that. Maybe you wouldn't mind not having a job anymore. I can't go anywhere without someone asking about Tiara or making a comment about my being off the market. It sounded good in the beginning, but the constant attention from the press and the public over this whole wedding scheme almost seems worse than when I was just a bachelor. This is what I wanted, right? I was tired of constantly being hounded about when or if I was ever going to settle down. Tired of the fix-ups, the never-ending line of bimbos that only want me because I'm handsome and rich. This has to be better than all that. I remind myself that people are just happy for us. I really didn't give anyone, my parents, friends, or the public, time to adjust to my newly attached status. This whole thing came straight out of left field, and as much as everyone wanted to see me finally settle down, they weren't prepared for it to happen so fast. I pull my phone from my pocket and touch the contact for Tiara. She answers on the first ring. "Hi, George. How was everything this morning?" There's a lilt in her voice, a note of excitement, as if she's happy that I called. The electricity that buzzes through my veins at the sound of it has my mind all twisted up and confused. I remind myself that this is a business arrangement, but the way my body reacts to her sends doubt and confusion swirling through me. "It's good," I tell her. "I was just wondering if I could stop by your office for a minute or two." "Of course. I always love it when my husband comes in for a visit. The day is just too long without you." She's overly chipper, and I'm guessing that her assistant is somewhere nearby listening. She has to keep the charade going even at work, especially at work. No doubt with the article deadline fast approaching, there's no room for error. When I get to her office, the security guard at the door gives me a weary smile. "Man, you just had to go and do it, didn't you?" "Excuse me?" I say confused. "I was certain you would be a bachelor until the end of time. Don't get me wrong, I'm happy as can be for Miss Mrs. DeLuca, But now my lady is expecting me to pop the question and settle down. She says if you can do it, there's no reason I can't. Oh, sorry to let you down. As if his inability to commit has anything to do with me. When the elevator doors open on Tiara's floor, I'm met with a round of applause from the employees. Some of them are even leaning out over neighboring cubicles to ogle at my entrance. This is ridiculous. Way to go, man, someone shouts. I can't believe he's actually off the market, a wispy voice complains. Now none of us have a chance to tackle him. Tiara is so lucky. I stalk past Tiara's assistant, not even glancing over to see what kind of expression covers her face. I don't want to know. Pushing through the door into Tiara's office, I let it close behind me and lean against it, feeling like all of my energy is leached from my pores. George! What in heaven's name is the matter? Tiara exclaims. I don't know if I can keep this up. I let my head hang down as I stare at the toes of my loafers. For some reason, I don't want to see disappointment mar her beautiful face, especially when I'm the cause. The attention is too much. I don't feel like myself anymore. I'm lying to my family, my friends. We talked about this, she says in a matter-of-fact tone that leaves no room for argument. We only have to stay married for less than a year now, just until the article comes out. Once that happens, I start to cut her off, but before the words can even form on my tongue, her assistant is pushing her way into the office. I stumble out of her way, and before I can even register what's happening, Tiara has her hands wrapped around my waist and her face nuzzled into my neck. Her assistant's eyes go big and googly. It's a weird look for someone who's essentially just a bystander. Tiara and my relationship has absolutely zero bearing on her life whatsoever, but she can't seem to ignore it or look away. Are we like those devastating car crashes that are too horrible to look at, yet no one can seem to turn their eyes? Mrs. DeLuca, she grins so wide I'm worried her cheeks might actually burst. The photo shoot that's scheduled for the article is in 20 minutes. Thank you so much for the reminder. We'll head out shortly. Tiara angles her face, running her nose softly against the hollow space at my neck. Shivers course down my spine and my arms wrap around Tiara's back as I lean my head down, brushing a kiss along the smooth skin near her ear. Tiara moans low in her throat, and molten heat pools along my groin. I catch a glimpse of the smirk on her assistant's face as she leaves the office, but it's not enough to fight the desire that's taking over my sanity. I crush my lips to Tiara's and let every thought leave my mind as I focus solely on the flavor of her mouth and the feel of her body pressed against mine.
Chapter 11. Tiara. A breathy moan seeps from my throat, and George crushes his lips to mine. He envelopes me in his arms, drawing our bodies flush, and the heat and hardness of him send flames burning through my veins, like a fire through the underbrush. My body buzzes with desire, and I almost forget that this is just pretend. The moment Juliet, my assistant, walked through the door, I was in full-blown Academy Award-winning performance mode. What was meant to be a lovey-dovey show of affection has turned into a panty-twisting, orgasm-inducing, full-blown groping make-out session. Is it possible to spontaneously combust just from kissing? I understand where George is coming from. His uncertainty about whether or not we're doing the right thing. His guilt over deceiving his family and friends. But I'm certain we can pull this off. There has been no shortage of well wishes and congratulations from the staff here at the magazine. And after what Juliet just witnessed, I'm sure the rumor mill will be abuzz before George even takes a step out of my office. Some part of my mind vaguely registers the click of the door closing as Juliet exits, but my body doesn't seem to care. I can't pull away, and since George doesn't seem to be making any kind of effort to stop, I don't try. His mouth is hot, searing against mine as his tongue traces across the seam of my lips. I open, giving him access, and he plunges in without hesitation, tasting and caressing over every accessible surface. I twist my tongue around his, meeting him stroke for stroke, as his hands tangle through my hair. My heart races in my chest, pounding out a rhythm against my breastbone that echoes through my ears. Molten heat pools low in my belly as desire builds until I think I'll go mad. And then it's gone. The taste, the warmth. Him. My eyes flutter open in confusion. The sudden loss of contact feels barren and empty, leaving a hollow ache deep in my core. He's standing across the room, his eyes wild and fierce. But there's something else there too. Uncertainty. What are we doing? We're supposed to be putting on a show for everyone else's benefit. We're not trying to convince ourselves of anything. Maybe it would be a good idea if we backed off a little. I need to get the article finished. And it's only a matter of time before this whole thing will be over. And we can put it behind us. We'd better... My throat is thick with desire, and I have to clear it several times before my voice finally comes out right. We'd better get down to the studio. Tiara, he starts. His eyes are pleading with me for understanding. Yes, intimacy is phenomenal. Yes, there's an undeniable attraction between us. That isn't why we started this whole thing, though. And I can't imagine that either one of us are prepared to actually commit to anything other than the initial agreement. Let's just get this done, I say on a sigh. He follows me out to the elevator. The ride down to the photo studio is only 4 floors, but it might as well be 40. Tension crackles through the air like electricity sparking from a live wire. I glance at him from the corner of my eye, and his body is rigid and straight. A muscle in his jaw flexes so tightly, I worry he might crack a molar. I don't think either one of us are breathing, and when the bell dings and the doors open, I jump at the sudden bustle of activity on the other side. Raymond, the photographer, comes charging towards us. Hurry, hurry, lovebirds. Let's make some magic. His boisterous and exuberant attitude should be contagious. But instead, it just seems to add to the tension-filled fog that surrounds George and me. We step over to the staging area and are immediately engulfed by stylists and makeup artists poking and prodding. Raymond tries to get us to focus on the camera, yelling out directions for various poses. George tries to move around me at the same time I adjust my footing, and we crash against each other. His arms wrap around me as I stumble forward, catching me just before I fall. For heaven's sake, George bites out under his breath. I'm sorry, I snap back. Just move around here, he demands, physically maneuvering me around to his other side. Lights are flashing as the camera clicks excitedly. Should he place his hand here? Should I angle my head this way? Maybe we should kiss. Maybe we should look deeply into each other's eyes. Maybe this was all a mistake. I force a smile across my face, but it feels foreign and unnatural. We're doing this for a good reason, I remind myself. The article will be amazing. His family and the press will be off his back. Everything will work out the way it's supposed to. We just need to keep this up for a little while longer. The last thing we want is for the camera to catch us arguing. We're supposed to be the perfect couple, the perfect husband, the perfect wife. If we can't pull it off in front of the camera, then the whole thing will have been for nothing. By the time the camera stops and Raymond exclaims perfection, George and I are both so close to the edge that the slightest breeze will probably leave us tumbling over with no safety net to catch us at the bottom. We get back in the elevator and he pushes the button for the lobby, just as I'm reaching over to push the button for my office. The elevator heads down first. When we reach the lobby and the doors slide open, George hesitates. I don't say anything, giving him the time to collect his thoughts and his words. Instead of saying anything that will rectify the current situation, he simply says, I guess I'll just talk to you later. He strides out of the elevator and through the lobby. The doors close before I have the chance to see him exit the building, but he doesn't look back. I'm left in the silence as the elevator ascends to my office floor, wondering what in the world just happened.
You won't know what hit you, baby. I'm going to take you, break you, and make you mine. And when I'm done, you're...
Now hold on just a minute.
What?
I got something to say.
What's the meaning of this?
Now you may be some fine-looking white boy,
Got that right, baby. It takes hard work.
and you might got the money,
Fat stacks, baby, to spoil you with.
but that doesn't mean I'm going to give it up to you without a fight.
A fight?
You want some limp wilting flowers? Go to historical romance, baby. But you want sassy and spicy strong black queens that tame their alpha male bad boys?
I think our listeners do.
Then you go on and look at Miss Tyla's Bougie Brides and Billionaires audio bundle.
50 hours of me whispering the most romantic things in your ears. Fake marriages, alpha male billionaires, strong black women, steamy scenes that will make your eyes roll back. And everything wrapped up in a happily ever after that will put you in an afterglow.
Use code SAVE40 to get 40% off this bundle and any other digital product in Miss Tyla's store.
Unabridged and uncut.
Just like you,
You're gonna have to find out.
Tyla Walker Romances. Escape your life with sassy romance.
Chapter 12. George. After the photo shoot, I have to practically beg Tiara to come to dinner with me. I have to work on the story, she says. Have you forgotten why we're doing this in the first place? Please come to dinner with me, I ask. You won't regret it. It will be fun. When have I ever not been fun? You haven't been particularly fun today, she retorts. She looks annoyed with me. Well, if you hate it, then at least you won't be hungry, I joke. It doesn't land. She looks as sour as ever. Please? I just want to talk about some things, and over dinner we can relax. No, I need to work on the story. Tiara, I say, taking her hand. Leave the story for now. Come have dinner with me. She looks appalled. I see how she got the workaholic stereotype. I can't leave the story, she insists. I give her my best puppy dog eyes. For me? I ask. When that doesn't work, I sigh. Tiara, there isn't going to be a story if we don't work out some logistics, I say under my breath. She rolls her eyes. Fine. She storms off to her office without saying goodbye. I'm annoyed with her, but we have a performance to keep up. I quietly leave and get ready for dinner. I tell her to meet me at a place nearby. It serves Italian food. It's nice, but not too fancy. We can relax here without worrying too much about etiquette. Plus, it's cute here. If we really need to take pictures or be on for whatever reason, this is the perfect place. Maybe we can say it's our favorite restaurant or something. When she arrives, I have to admit how beautiful she looks. Her scowl has been replaced with a relaxed look. She smiles a bit when she sees me, but I know the signs of performance. She's facing me, but her eyes are looking for anyone who might be looking at us. She sits down at the table with me and picks up the menu. You look beautiful, I say, and it's true. Thank you, she responds. It's still a bit curt, but it's better than earlier. We start to talk about what we want to eat, and that conversation turns into what's been going on with both of us. We've seen each other, but we haven't gotten to have a conversation like this in a while. Everything has been so business-focused. It's nice to just sit here and chat. The conversation goes from that to our jobs and ambitions. I know some of hers. She's worried about being seen as a workaholic, but she doesn't want to give up her career. That's how she came up with this whole scheme. Before I can stop myself, I blurt something out. I've had kind of a rough time, I say. A rough time? She tilts her head. Yeah, I continue. It's just... I don't know. I know how lucky I am, but it's difficult. So many people would kill for this, I know, but... It's all right. Things can be hard, she says, but I think you're amazing at what you do. I hope so, I say. It's hard to live up to that label. Perfect husband. Eligible bachelor. There's no rule book. The buck stops with me. It does at work, too. But isn't that an exciting opportunity? She asks. It is, but I don't know. It's also exhausting. It's glamorous, I know, but I work really hard. I always have to be on. So many people are depending on me. I have my family's legacy, the business's legacy. I don't know. I just feel tired sometimes. She gives me a small smile and takes my hand. I feel embarrassed that I let that all out. I'm not being a gentleman. It makes me feel bad, but I know I should deal with this on my own. I don't need to involve another person. Besides, this isn't her problem. She's my wife only in name. She's still just another person at this point. I understand, she says. I know I work a lot, but I understand that pressure. I want to be perfect and have everything, but it just feels like I can't have it all. It sounds like you're feeling something similar. Yeah, I guess so. I guess that's why I agreed to this. It's something I can check off my list. I can keep the glamour without having to suffer through another failing relationship. I wince at that. I should have kept it to myself. She doesn't need to know my relationship woes. I guess that we're technically in a relationship, but still, I can't help myself. I want to open up to her. I feel all of these words spilling out of my mouth. Words I know are mine, but the situation feels so foreign. She nods sympathetically as I talk, and the feelings come out. I tell her all about my insecurities and hardships. I don't know why I feel so comfortable with her. My ring is on her finger, but she's not mine. I shouldn't feel so entitled to her time. I shouldn't make her listen to me. Yet here we are. I'm telling her every secret and private feeling over dinner. And she's being wonderful about it. I'm lucky. I can't imagine being like this with my former girlfriends. It makes me feel so ungentlemanly, but it also feels so right. I take her hand as we talk, and I feel the anxiousness balled up in my chest finally start to settle.
Chapter 13. Tiara. It's hard for me to open up, but with George opening up to me, I feel myself opening up as well. It's a strange sensation. I'm a writer. I'm used to being the one asking questions, but being the subject of my story is changing me. I'm so used to talking and writing about other people that it's strange to tell him about myself. I understand what it's like to be in a relationship like that, I say. The tabloids said such hurtful things about me after I broke up with my last boyfriend. I was so angry. I wanted revenge. It feels silly when I say it out loud, but it's also so cathartic. Hell hath no fury, he says with a laugh. But seriously, he doesn't know what he's missing. You're great. It's not bad to be ambitious. I'm just sorry that they treated you like that. I feel myself melt. Finally, someone who gets it. It just hurts, I start. I try not to tear up as I talk. After every breakup, no matter what happened, I always feel like a failure. It feels like there's something I could have done to be better. I feel silly telling him all of this. He doesn't need to listen to me whine. I hate feeling like a burden on another person. I half expect him to roll his eyes or get up and walk out, but to my surprise, he just reaches across the table and holds my hand. The simple, sweet action makes me want to cry. It's just a small bit of affection, but it makes me feel so much better. Before I know it, I'm telling him about everything breakup and heartache. He listens thoughtfully. Everything in my heart comes pouring out, and I feel powerless to stop it. When it's done, he smiles at me, and I smile back. I feel better somehow, lighter. Thank you for trusting me with that, Tiara, he says. I'm glad I could convince you to come out tonight. I try to stop myself from smiling wider. He's so sweet to me. Let me take you home, he says. I want to keep you company. Okay, I say before I can tell myself to decline. He calls for the check and pays the bill. When he gets up, he offers me his hand again. Such a gentleman. He walks me out of the restaurant and back to his car. The ride to my place is filled with the sounds of the radio and the occasional comment about the story. or a piece of information we slip to someone else. It sounds silly, but even in this moment of being casual with one another, I feel so happy and free. He stops the car and walks me up to my door. "Well, this is you," he says with a laugh. "Yeah, I guess it is," I say. I look down at my toes. "Good night, Tiara," he says. I know he's leaving when I say goodnight back, but I want him to stay. I delay saying goodnight back for a second, but I know I can't delay it longer than that. Instead, I stand on my toes and pull him down to me for a kiss. It surprises both of us. We stand there, locked together by the lips. He recovers quickly and wraps his arms around me, deepening the kiss. I break away first. "Do you want to go upstairs with me?" I ask breathlessly. "Yeah, I do," he responds. I hate to put a stop to a good time, but it looks like we've hit YouTube's limit for spiciness.
YouTube's got some rules we have to play by if we want to keep giving you these stories for free.
And trust me, this scene isn't something you want to miss.
While we can't get into all the details here, you can still dive into the full uncut version at tylerwalker.com.
Miss Tyla has an entire collection of unabridged audiobooks and ebooks waiting for you.
And the best part? You can treat yourself with 40% off when you use the code SAVE40.
That's right. You'll save on any digital product, even bundles that are already discounted.
Miss Tyler would never let anyone feel the kind of disappointment you must be feeling right now.
So why wait? Treat yourself with Miss Tyla.
Chapter 14. George. 2 days have passed since Tiara and I last slept together. We spilled our guts to each other and then had some of the most passionate time of my life. Feels weird to think about, but it's what we both needed at the time. We needed affection and to be with each other. I thank my lucky stars that I was able to talk her into dinner that night. I still feel surprised that I said those things to her, but I'm glad I did. I haven't seen that side of her before either. She was desperate and passionate. There was a great deal of it where we didn't even talk about the story. She opened up to me. That was genuine. Honestly, I liked what I saw. They say that when someone shows you who you are, you should believe them. I definitely believe her. I want to see more of that side of her. I can't get her off my mind. I keep picturing her face in my mind's eye. It's like I have a catalog of her expressions. I can see her when she's got an idea, when she thinks something's funny, when she's orgasming. I can see her so clearly, and I still want to see her more. I reach for my phone, and without fully thinking of what I'm doing, I go to her social media pages. I've already liked and commented on a fair number of these when we were establishing our relationship and playing it up a bit for the press. But now it's all I can do to like the photos again. It sounds strange, but it's the only way I can connect with her right now. I think I've liked everyone before I put the phone aside. That felt weird to do, but I also feel a couple virtual actions closer to her. She's going to think I'm insane when she sees her notifications, but I don't care. I lay back in bed and stare up at the ceiling. I still see her face. That much hasn't been cleared. She's there, whether my eyes are open or closed. I start to fall asleep, and she permeates my subconscious as I do. I fall asleep thinking about her laugh. The next day, I have a board meeting to go to. I sit around the table with family and colleagues alike. That's the funny thing about working in a family business. It looks like it should just be the dinner table, but instead of delicious food, we're trusted with large sums of money and discussions about marketing. I don't know what this meeting is about, but I assume it's something routine. My dad stands up at the head of the table. All eyes look to him. When he's at the office, it's like he's a different man. He goes from the guy who used to sing me songs as a kid to my boss. I look up to my dad in so many ways. I think every kid with a good dad wants to be like him. I admire his ability to sniff out bullcrap and his business sense. He's had a long career and he's done good things with it. People like him. That's a rare feat for someone in his position. I know that people generally like me too, but it isn't without its difficulties. Dad always handles it without breaking a sweat. "Gentlemen, ladies," he begins, "today is no ordinary meeting. I've never been one for long speeches, so I might as well just come out and say it. I'm retiring, effective immediately. I blink a few times to make sure I'm not in bed dreaming. Some people look at me to see if I knew about this, but I'm sure I look just as clueless as they do. My dad was never one for dramatics, but this is a bombshell. Effective immediately? Who's going to be president?" "I'm sure you all have many questions," he continues. "Namely, who is going to get my office and desk chair?" There's a few chuckles at his joke, but everyone is still just processing the information. "I'm pleased to announce George as my successor for president of the company. Not all fathers are lucky enough to be able to direct their children in their careers, but I've had the pleasure of directing my son. He's a hard worker, smart as a whip, and he'll lead this company to do great things." All eyes are on me again as polite applause breaks out. Someone claps me on the shoulder. "Way to go, George!" The rest of the meeting happens in a haze. I can hardly pay attention as people go over logistics before my dad leaves for good. I know I should be paying attention. This is all stuff I need to know, but I'm still reeling from the news. I'm the president. I can't believe it. I always suspected it might happen one day, but I definitely didn't expect it to be today. After the meeting, I stay to talk with my dad. My mom walks into the room as well, looking pleased. She pulls me into a tight hug. "I'm so proud of you, Georgie," she says. "Your father and I couldn't be more proud of you." I suddenly feel very bashful talking to my parents. "Dad was the one who picked me," I tell them. "I think he's a little biased." "Not biased at all," he insists. "I like that I was able to keep it in the family, but you're the best man for the job, George. All of those things I said about you are true. As a father, I'm very proud. As a businessman, I'm making a smart decision." "We're planning a party to celebrate," my mother tells me. "A party? I can't say I hate parties." My mom starts to fill me in on the details as we walk out of the boardroom. As we walk, we're joined by others in the company filling me in on what I need to know for my transition into this role. I feel overwhelmed, but in a good way. I walk a little taller as I make my way to my new office.
Chapter 15. Tiara. Officially, I'm on the clock, working on the biggest piece of my career and of my life. Unofficially, I'm scrolling through my feed, smiling like an idiot at some of the comments George has posted. It's getting late and I'm supposed to be a professional, but here I am. Article file in one window, Facebook over the top in another. I sigh and click back over, staring at the stark black letters on the bright white screen. We're getting to the end of this particular experiment, and the writing has been coming slower and slower. I've been busy, of course. Well, we've been busy, and after our last meeting. Absently, as though to hide the action from myself, the mouse drifts over to the other tab again, and I find myself scrolling through some of our recent pictures. He really is a very nice man. As a journalist, it's always a bit of a surprise when some of the things reported do actually turn out to be true. He really took a chance with this article, and with me. I'm sure George wouldn't have agreed if it wasn't helping him too, but still. None of this would be happening if he hadn't decided to take this leap with me. He calls me beautiful in the comments, leaves little hearts and smileys, and it could be juvenile, but it's not. It's sweet and thoughtful, and really above and beyond what I could have asked from him. But that's how he is, above and beyond. The other articles said that. All the buzz about a perfect husband. But they didn't know. They could look at the posts, the comments, the interviews, and gather all the data to piece together how George is when he's with someone he cares about. But they don't know how it feels. The warmth that builds in your chest at the bottom of your lungs and just fills you and lifts the stress from your shoulders, rising until you can't help the bursting smile even though all he's done is left a kind message for you. smiled at you absent-mindedly, looked to you first after he's told a joke to see if you found it as funny as he did. He smiles at me from the picture on my screen, looking into the camera, and I see myself beside him looking happy. Honest to God happy. I groan and take a sip of coffee that's been cold for several hours. Steadfastly, I minimize the addicting social media feed and maximize the article. Then I stare at it, tap my fingers over the keys, too light to register with the laptop, and demand the words materialize anyway. I never have this problem. I love finishing my work. That last home stretch is the best feeling in the world. You know exactly where you want to go, and you just rattle all the words down, and that final punctuation mark stabbed onto the page is a victory call. I've always been able to push past writer's block, just keep trudging along, putting one word after the other, but recently, the article is in its final phase. I've set the stage and explained the premise. We've gone through the whole show, done the dance. All that's left is the last act and the curtain call. The thought seems to pull the energy from my body, and I lean forward. Head in my hands, elbows on the desk. I don't understand. Everything is going well, great even. The concept of my article has been executed perfectly. George has been incredible. Everyone loves us. Us. I slide my hands from my chest to my shoulders, trying to relieve some of the sudden tension. I can't help thinking how much better it would feel if George was doing it. His large, warm hands kneading into my sore muscles. Groaning, I set my hands back into position, but nothing's coming. I don't want it to end. The thought is sudden and striking, and I stare at my hands as though they're the ones that have betrayed me. That's why I can't keep working. I don't want to get to the end. I don't want to finish the article, because when the article's finished, so are we. Oh, I'm so screwed. My voice is loud in the empty office, but I can hear the truth in it as I speak. It would almost be embarrassing, falling in love with the perfect husband, but it's not because he's wonderful. This time, when I'm scrolling through the media feed, the pictures and the comments, I focus on my face and my reactions. I'm grinning widely in every one. I've liked every single one of his photos, his comments, and hearted more than a few. Looking through the public's comments, I find just as many talking about how devoted I am to him as he is to me. How happy I look. How happy I must make him. How we were really meant to be. The coffee is swirling in my stomach, and I've completely forgotten about the article for tonight. There's elation at finally realizing what I've been feeling, the warmth that comes from loving someone so completely. George listens to me, comforts me, cares for me. I'm falling in love with him, if I haven't fallen already, and the internet figured it out before I did. But there's a sinking feeling too. I might love him, but what happens when the article is published? What am I going to do if I can't move on? What am I going to do when he comes to me smiling, with the papers to sign and pats me on the back for a great social media experiment and a fun article? It's not like I can refuse to divorce him. That was the deal. Marriage, married life, then a quiet divorce, and we both carry on with our lives. Alone. I exit out of our picture-perfect photos, then close my laptop. I don't think I'm not going to get any more work done tonight. This is it, baby. This is what you can get me that'll make me happy.
You know I'll get you whatever you want. All you need to do is ask me and I'll give it to you.
This ain't just it. This is everything I could ever want.
Now I'm curious. What does a strong, sassy woman like yourself want so badly?
Baby, you know what I want?
Can't wait to hear.
The Big Baddie Bundle from Tyler Walker. It has everything I need.
20 ebooks with over 1 million words of sassy romance and spice that'll keep you on your toes.
10 audiobooks containing over 60 hours of that seductive voice telling me naughty things all night long.
You don't need an audiobook for that, baby. Right here.
You may be fine and all, but no one tells it like the way Miss Tyla does. And I need her in my life.
The Big Baddie Bundle is everything you need. You can get it for 80% off.
Go to TylaWalker.com to browse the bundles that earn you the best deals.
It's time you treat yourself. Because you deserve it.
Escape your life with Miss Tyla.
Chapter 16. George. Once the news breaks that I'm set to inherit my family's company, my friends, of course, drag me out for a celebration of their own. We end up at one of the more exclusive clubs downtown. Not quite black tie, but upscale nonetheless. We started out early and now it's nearing midnight. We've spent most of the night drinking and dancing, with Brad and I serving as wingmen for Kyle, Todd, and Colin, since we're the only two of the 5 of us who are now married. Married? I'm married. Sometimes I still can't believe it. A lot of the girls we've chatted up have turned out to be followers of mine and Tiara's social media feeds, so she's been on my mind a lot. I field question after question from women wondering where she is tonight and what she's up to. I accept endless compliments of how great we look together, how wonderful our wedding was. I thank them, but my smile feels so fake I wonder how they can't tell I'm a liar. Tiara isn't with us tonight, but only because she wanted to work on the article. Despite myself, I can't stop thinking about it, because once it's out, that means this is over, and I'm no longer sure it's the conclusion I want. When she ran the pitch by me, I was convinced it'd be so simple. A clever ploy, no strings attached, just something to clear both our names and get the media to stop hounding us for a bit. What I didn't expect were all these feelings. I've never felt as comfortable as I do with Tiara with any of the other women that I've dated. I'd always been nice to them. I come by the perfect husband moniker, honestly, after all. But I'd mostly kept my thoughts and feelings about my legacy and family to myself. I never wanted to burden the women I dated with tedious things. But Tiara's so easy to talk to. I never feel like she doesn't want to hear what I have to say. I never feel like she's judging me, or only sees me as the perfect husband, even though our situation was her idea in the first place, and she sought me out specifically because of it. She might have thought it up, but she never makes me feel like that's all I am. I have to keep reminding myself that I'm at the club to have fun, not to spend my time analyzing my sham of a marriage. The boys can tell I'm preoccupied, but they keep plying me with drinks. They repeatedly toast my promotion, likely due to the copious amounts of alcohol flooding their veins. They've given me a new nickname, Prez, which makes me laugh and takes my mind off my screwed-up situation for a moment or two. But before I know it, my mind slipped right back to Tiara. Her hair, her face, the softness and scent of her skin, the way she very nearly purrs when I do her. How I just want to keep taking her and only her. This was supposed to be so easy, and now it's spinning out of control. I try to keep focused on our celebration, but my mind keeps going back to the article. She's writing it right now. What if she's finished it? What if she submits it without running it by me first? Did we agree that I'd get to review it prior to submission? I can't remember. I should tell her I want to read it first. If I do that, at least it'll stall her before she sends it to print. I agreed to this, and I can't help but feel a little guilty for having these contradictory feelings, but... Earth to Prez! Hey, Prez! Kyle calls over the booming bass pounding in the club. Where'd you go, dude? I give my head a shake before sliding my eyes over to his. Everything feels like it's moving in slow motion. Clearly, I've had too much to drink. Were you thinking about Woodry? Colin drawls before I can answer. He's completely plastered. Man, I never thought I'd see the day that George DeLuca was this hung up on a girl. Good thing she's his wife, Brad exclaims, raising his glass. No one leaves him hanging. We slam our glasses against his in another toast. Of course he's hung up. She's a freaking dime piece, Colin says. George is a lucky man. And all at once I realize that Colin's right. I'm a lucky man. Tiara's great. She's beautiful, smart, dedicated. She's the perfect wife. I've been so consumed with shaking the perfect husband label that I nearly missed it. I'm falling in love with her. I've fallen in love with her. This whole plan has completely backfired. I don't even know if she feels the same way about me, but I've got to stop her from publishing that article. I've got to talk to her first, see if we're on the same page. Maybe I'm crazy, but I think I might have a shot at making this work. We haven't been at this for long, but she's always been receptive to my advances, and has even initiated some of her own. It's clear that this isn't one-sided, that she's as attracted to me as I am to her. I'm nearly certain she wants me too, but maybe she's afraid I'll think she's crazy, because that's exactly what I'm afraid of too. Give me a sec, guys. Bathroom break, I tell them, not waiting for them to protest before making my way to the back of the bar. I duck into an empty corner and pull out my phone, shooting Tiara a quick text. I ask her to check in with me before she submits the article to her editors, coming up with a bullcrap excuse about wanting to make sure it paints me in a good light. Her phone must be right next to her, because she responds right away. Her message is short and to the point, in agreement. She'll be sure to forward me the article prior to submission. Crisis averted, at least temporarily. I return to the boys, my good mood restored, and order us another round.
Chapter 17. Tiara. Just a few short weeks ago, it seemed as though the article was writing itself. Now I stare at the blinking cursor on my laptop screen. My mind is as blank as the page before me. Every flash of the thin black line is a taunt, a vicious affront at my ineptitude. I never would have believed at the beginning of this entire ordeal that I would end up falling in love with George. Now that I've acknowledged that truth, I'm unsure how to proceed. I feel like I'm in foreign territory, like I'm drowning in dark, murky water with no sign of land and no way to keep my head above the inky blackness that's threatening to swallow me whole. I've been working so hard, and it's nearly finished, but I can't settle in on how the article should be concluded. The ending should do both of us justice, but now I almost don't care about how it affects me. As long as I can paint George as the truly wonderful man and human being that he is, that's all that matters. Maybe I should just scrap the whole thing. Would I be able to come up with a new article that is equally magnificent to take its place? Probably not. Besides, George and I are already in too deep. If we backed away now, both of our lives would implode, and everyone we love and care about would be wiped out with us. We can't walk away now, not when we've come so far. The thought of leaving him, of not having him in my life, causes my heart to seize in my chest. The pain is so great that it radiates through every cell, scorching and burning through flesh and bone. Tears spring to my eyes, scalding as they leave a salty trail across my cheeks. The loss that I feel is overwhelming, and it makes no sense. George was never really mine, and I have no right to feel like he ever was. No right to feel a sense of possession over him. I just need to finish this article and put everything else behind me. But how can I do that when the very thought sends me plummeting into a deep pit of agonizing heartbreak? I'm not sure how long I've been sitting here, but I know it's at least been long enough for the sun to significantly change its place in the sky. The shadows playing through the window are now on the other side of the room from when I first sat down. The apartment is too still, too quiet, and I nearly jump out of my skin when a knock at the door startles me out of my self-rumination. I'm not expecting anyone, so I wonder who it could be as I make my way across the room. When I open the door, my heart stutters in my chest and my breath hitches in my throat. George stands, leaning one arm casually against the door jamb. His eyes sparkle mischievously and his lips are stretched into a lazy grin. "George," I croak, sounding every bit the love-struck idiot that I apparently am. "I have some news that I wanted to share with you," he says. "May I come in?" "Of course," I reply, wondering what could possibly have him in I'm not quite sure how to describe the look he's currently wearing across his gorgeous features. Happy, maybe? playful even. He's watching me as though he's gauging every small move that I make, even each breath that I take. I feel self-conscious and more than a little unnerved. I move aside so he can step into the entry. Then I lead him into the living room and offer him a seat on the couch. "Would you like a drink?" I ask. "No, thank you." He smiles. I sit down next to him, leaving enough room between us that an entire fairly large person would be able to fill the space. He furrows his brow as though he thinks I don't want to be near him. On the contrary, it's taking every ounce of willpower that I possess not to throw myself at him, tell him how I really feel, and kiss him crazy until he feels the same way. "My father made the announcement," he begins. "I'm the new CEO." "That's wonderful," I exclaim. "I'm so happy for you." I move closer, wrapping my arms around him in tight hug. "You really deserve this," I say as I start to pull away. His arms don't loosen, and I look up at him, meeting his gaze. Desire, need, and want churn through his heated stare. I'm about to open my mouth, unsure what it is I should say, when he reaches up to brush a strand of hair behind my ear. His fingers trace a fiery trail down my jaw, and before I can react, his lips are on me. I can't breathe. I'm falling, spiraling, crashing into oblivion. My mind completely shuts down, but my body comes alive. His lips capture mine unyieldingly and with a hunger so fervent it devours every moan, every breath, every heartbeat. I can feel this kiss all the way down into the marrow of my bones. It explodes through my body, setting every cell aflame and turning every nerve into a blistering inferno of passion and desire. He delves his tongue into my open mouth, greedily tasting every surface, but he still isn't close enough. When he finally pulls away, we're both panting and breathing heavily. My face is flushed and my eyes refuse to focus. His deep voice pulls me out of the love-struck stupor that I'm flailing in. "My parents are throwing a party to celebrate my new title. I'd be honored if you would be my date," he says. "I would love to," I tell him. "Besides, how would it look if your wife didn't join in the celebration for something so important?" "Right, of course. So I'll see you later then." He stares at me in almost desperation, as if begging me for some kind of understanding, but I'm not sure what he wants. Surely this isn't as hard on him as it is on me. I walk him to the door, and we share a parting glance before he heads out of the building. My heart aches at the thought of our marriage coming to an end, but I know it's the way this has to end. He isn't mine to keep, no matter how much I wish her were. I stare at the screen on my laptop once again. The tears flowing steadily down my cheeks are happy ones. At least, that's what I'm trying to convince myself of. The article is finished. It's perfect, but the hollow ache in my chest still refuses to leave as the printer buzzes next to me, sealing the end of what never really was.
You think you can catch me? You think you can tame me?
Oh, I know I can. And you know it too, baby.
I gotta tell you, you're not the first to try.
But don't worry, baby. I'll be the last.
With sass like that, maybe I'll be the one that needs to tame you.
Let's cut to the chase, big boy. What you selling me?
Your appetite is big AF. I have just the thing that'll satisfy you.
Oh, really? And what's that?
Over 120 hours of romance audiobooks. Brought to you by Tyler Walker Romances in the Big AF Audio Bundle.
120 hours? That sounds amazing.
Your knees won't work afterwards if I do my job right.
Don't make promises you can't keep.
Well, I can keep this promise. Because these audiobooks are unabridged with all the spicy scenes that will make you put your earbuds on. You know, Tyler can get freaky because she marked the bundle down by 69% for a limited time.
I can't wait to take this bundle for a ride.
Visit tylerwalker.com and get this audio bundle. Just don't start listening if you're gonna be cooking dinner. Because you might just forget to feed your family.
TylerWalker.com. Escape your life with Tyler.
Chapter 18. George. I've been thinking of Tiara non-stop since I went to her apartment after my night out with the boys. The more I see her, the harder it is for me to stay away. I've never felt this way about any woman, ever, and it's addicting. The hilarious fact about it all is that we shouldn't actually be apart anyway. We're married. All of this is completely binding and legal, so technically I should be able to see my wife whenever I want. After last night, once everything had wrapped up and I was back at my apartment, I made myself truly think about what I want. I mean, really sit down and think, do I want this to end? Do I want Tiara completely, permanently out of my life? Do I never want to see her again after all this? We get along so well, and of course I can't dismiss how well matched we are in the sack. Maybe it was the alcohol talking, but I don't think so. I don't want this to end. Maybe it will someday, but I don't want that day to be any time soon. I'm in love with her, regardless of the article and the fact that this started out as a complete sham. When I wake, the sun is too bright, and my head is too foggy from the night before, but I force myself out of bed anyway. I might as well get up and try to pull myself together, since it'll probably take me all day anyway. The party is tonight. My father is going to publicly step down from the company and name me as his successor, and I sure as hell can't show up reeking of booze and not looking the part. The first thing I do is text Tiara. As my wife, fake or not, she's expected to be there. Good morning. How was your night? I ask. She texts back immediately, despite the ungodly hour. It was fine. Mostly worked on the article. It's coming along well. Just need to wrap it up. Yours? Good, we had fun. I missed you. I'm taking a gamble in telling her that, but I'm going to let it ride. I watch as the little dots pop up on the screen to indicate she's typing. They start and stop and seem to last forever. I missed you too, George. That's a promising response. I'm looking forward to seeing you tonight for the party. I'll pick you up at 7 o'clock. Her reply comes quickly this time. Can't wait, see you then. XO. I'll spend the rest of the day working on a speech about my father, thanking him for all his hard work over the years, for being an exemplary example of a boss, a husband, and father, and for believing that I'm the best fit to take over the company. I know I'm his only son, and so it's only logical for him to pass the buck to me. But these days, in corporate America, it's not always how things work out anymore. At 6, I take a shower, shave, and get dressed, pulling on a 3-piece Tom Ford suit. It's black and impeccably tailored, cut to show off my physique. I've only worn it once before for a charity event, but it's my absolute favorite because it fits me so well, and I want to look my best for Tiara. I have to admit, a little part of me wants her to see what she'll be missing if she decides to go ahead with the divorce. At 6:30, I head down to the underground lot and select the fastest car I own, a gorgeous red Lamborghini Evo Spider. I rarely ever drive it, but tonight's a night for this car. It's probably going to be the biggest one of my life if everything goes according to plan. I arrive at Tiara's with 5 minutes to spare, taking the steps up to her building 2 at a time. I give her concierge a nod, and he opens the door for me with a smile. It feels like the elevator takes hours to get to me, and then even more to arrive on her floor. But finally I'm there and ringing the bell, and she opens the door without hesitation. She's so freaking gorgeous, she takes my breath away. The front of her lustrous red hair is swept back from her face with sparkling diamond clips, the rest spilling down her back like a waterfall. Her makeup is expertly done, her bright blue eyes lined in black, and those full, sensuous lips painted with lipstick as red as my car. But what renders me truly speechless is her dress, a backless, floor-length black gown that hugs every curve of her amazing body and leaves nothing to the imagination. My mouth immediately runs dry, and I have to force my thoughts to other things to prevent my shaft from hardening. This has gone on long enough. I don't want a divorce, I tell her, unable to stop myself. Her mouth, that beautiful, sinful mouth, falls open as she stares at me, shocked. I'm not crazy, I swear, Tiara, I say, which doesn't sound convincing in the least. So please hear me out. These past few months have been so great. When I agreed to do your article, I never thought that I'd find the person I really feel like I'm meant to be with. I didn't expect to fall in love with you, but I did. I'm in love with you, Tiara, and I don't want this to end once the article comes out. She continues to stare at me for what seems like forever, but eventually pulls herself together and clears her throat. Her eyes stare up into mine as she reaches out to take my hands in hers. I love you too, George. If you're crazy, so am I, she says, her mouth turned up in a brilliant smile. I don't wait for her to say another word. I just take her into my arms and kiss her senseless, smearing that red lipstick.
Chapter 19. Tiara. I'm genuinely shocked, but so happy, that George feels the same way I do. When I pitched this idea to him, I never imagined we'd fall in love, but sometimes life has a way of surprising us. He really is the perfect husband, and he's mine. I tell him I love him too, and he wastes no time in grabbing me and pressing those amazing lips to mine. He nearly devours me, moving quickly from my mouth down to nip at my neck, and eventually trace the shell of my ear with his tongue. I shiver deliciously, my desire for him pooling in my core. His strong hands seek out all the sensitive spots on my body, moving down my shoulders to cup my chest. His fingers graze my buds, and they harden into stiff peaks, receptive to his touch. He keeps one there and allows the other to roam before settling it on the curve of my ass. Looks like the level of passion in this chapter is pushing YouTube's limit.
It's disappointing, I know. Trust me when I say we want nothing more than to get down to the dirty details.
But releasing these free audiobooks on YouTube means that we have to abide by the rules.
Even though YouTube won't allow us to put something so spicy on the air, you can still find it on TylaWalker.com.
Miss Tyla has an unbelievable collection of uncut, unabridged audiobooks and ebooks.
For access to the full, unfiltered scene, go to TylaWalker.com and use code SAVE40 for 40% off any digital product.
This is the deal of a lifetime, a discount that can be applied to bundles that are already listed at a discounted price.
You heard that right. It's time for you to treat yourself.
With Miss Tyla.
I want to do that for the rest of our lives, he says. I can't believe the most amazing intercourse of my life is with my wife. Lucky for you, you have me forever, I tell him. He strokes a finger up my spine, his gorgeous eyes staring into mine. He takes my face in his hands and kisses me again and again. We're late for the party, he says against my lips. Well, I know the boss, and I don't think he'll mind, I say. You know, I think you're right. I don't think he'd mind if we didn't show up at all, he answers. A small part of me feels a little bad for standing up his parents, but the rest of me just wants to be with him. I push the thought of the party completely out of my mind and concentrate on all the ways I can go about pleasing my husband instead.
Chapter 20. George, a month has passed since the night of the party, when Tiara and I decided we were in this for the long haul. Since we decided to fully commit to one another as man and wife, she's moved out of her apartment and into my place, because it's bigger, and we've spent every day living in marital bliss. I have to admit, the fact that we can do it any time we want now is also one of the perks. We've christened every room in the place, more than once. Her article was published in this month's issue of A La Mode, and I'm eagerly awaiting her arrival at home with a copy so I can read it. Even though I'd asked her to let me read it before she sent it to print, ultimately I decided against it. Once we agreed not to get divorced after all, it really didn't matter to me what she'd written. She arrives home at the same time she usually does, laden down with bags and more than one copy of the magazine. I greet her at the door with a kiss and take everything from her arms. "Hello, perfect husband," she says, her voice a purr. "Hello, perfect wife," I laugh. I take everything to the kitchen, and she sits down at the island, looking beautiful as always, but tired. She's had a few late nights at the office lately, so it's no surprise. I pour us both a glass of red before I join her. She slides a copy of A la Mode over to me. Page 30, she says. I quickly flip through pages of ads and makeup tips before I find it. There's a photo of the two of us from our wedding, and the headline, Perfect Strangers from Near Miss to Wedded Bliss. I devour the article, my pride in her growing with every word I read. I'm shocked that she decided to go the candid route, telling our complete story, how the wedding scheme was her idea to fool the tabloids into leaving us alone, how we both had reservations at first, and then how we fell in love. Not one word of the story is a lie. This is great, I tell her, but aren't you worried how your readers will react? I was at first, but I consulted my team before sending it to print, and they loved it, George, just adored it. They all think it's a really refreshing take on modern relationships, she tells him, her smile radiant. We've also been tracking responses on social media, and so far it's been nothing but positive. I'm so glad to hear it, Tiara. You deserve this, I tell her. I flip through the article once more, looking closer at the photos she chose to use. The wedding photo, some of the ones we'd shared on our social feeds, and even ones that the media had taken of us out for dinner one night. She also included a photo of each of us before we started this, and I noticed how unhappy we looked compared to now. I'm so glad I decided to take a chance on this. On her. I have one more piece of good news, she says, a sly look on her face. Oh, really? I ask, intrigued. What more you could possibly give me that you haven't already? She smiles again, but it's a little shy this time. I watch as she runs her fingers over the rim of her glass, noticing it's still as full as it was when I gave it to her. You haven't taken a sip of your wine, I note, narrowing my eyes. She shakes her head. Why haven't you taken a sip of your wine? I ask. Why would a married woman who typically has a drink every night suddenly not be drinking? She asks me, a wicked gleam in her eye. Are you? I ask in disbelief. Found out this morning, she says. We're going to have a baby, George. If I thought I couldn't love her more, I was wrong. I take her into my arms and press my mouth to hers, kissing her deeply. I'm so happy I can hardly stand it. Did you know that one of the symptoms of early pregnancy is extreme horniness? She whispers against my mouth. I did not. But that's definitely something I can help you with, my love, I respond, kissing her again before I lift her up into my arms and carry her into our bedroom.
And that's where we're going to put a pause on pleasure.
Looks like the rest of this chapter is just too naughty to put on the air.
As much as we'd love to share every little detail, we've got to stick to YouTube's guidelines to keep these free audiobooks coming.
They've got some rules about what we can show, and we wouldn't want to risk losing the chance to bring you more content.
As frustrating as it is to build the tension only to be interrupted, Miss Tyla always knows how to make it up to you.
You can find the full, uncut scene over at tylawalker.com.
With an entire library of unabridged audiobooks and ebooks, Miss Tyla's collection is waiting for you.
If you use code SAVE40, you'll get 40% off any digital product, even on bundles that are already discounted.
So don't let the fun stop here. Head over to tylawalker.com and treat yourself. With Miss Tyla,